Hello everyone, I'm Bibi and today I'm bringing you another Sims 2 lot renovation. We are still working in Pleasantview and we have only 2 families left to go through before we start our Let's Play series. Today's lot makeover will take place in this lovely little area because I'll be transforming the Dreamer family home. Darren is pursuing his dream of being an artist, while his son Dirk hits the books. And Darren may have found his muse, but will his creativity be enough to win Cassandra's affection? Let's jump right in and see what the Dreamers are up to. Here we are, and the boys are already waiting for us. They've got the float replacements on, and they look pretty good, but I'll switch them up a little bit. Let me just quickly give you guys a 360 of the surrounding area. The hood deco is still very much a work in progress, but you can see that it's coming along. Not everything is visible from the lots, however, I think it already looks much more vibrant and alive. We've got gardens, walkways, fences, decorative buildings, just a much more immersive environment. We've got the back of the house, which has this porch moment, but otherwise it's pretty flat and has a weird mix of windows. And lastly, we tragically have the gravesite of Darlene Dreamer, who rests eternally under this large willow tree. Spoiler alert, I actually kept this area completely untouched because I like what Maxis did here with the terrain paint. But this is it, this is our project of the day. We've got floor 1 with the kitchen, living and Dirk's room in the corner, and upstairs we've got a wide open space which is Darren's art studio plus his bedroom and bathroom. I'll give you a quick close-up of the interior. We've got the living space, the door to Dirk's bedroom and bathroom, staircase, then kitchen and dining area. Dirk's room is very small and empty, not much going on here, and then we have this offensively yellow bathroom. I hope you don't have a headache because this is not gonna feel good. Here's the upstairs art studio with no ceiling because they didn't exist in the base game when this house was built. Darren has a very expensive painting and 3 identical ugly coffee tables as decoration, so yeah, that's a choice. And then we have his very blue bedroom because these guys like blue if it wasn't obvious enough. The first thing I did this time is I actually gave the boys a makeover right away because I felt like doing this before building this time around. Darren's look is pretty much similar to his original one, meanwhile Dirk is looking kind of like a jock, which is exactly the kind of vibe I'm getting from him. I don't know why, but he reminds me of Mike from Until Dawn, if you know that game, so this is his new look and I think he's super cute. But let's start building. I'll spare you guys the whole footage of me deleting every object from the house because that's boring. I got rid of all the objects, wallpaper and flooring, doors and windows, you know the drill if you've been watching these renovations. Just got rid of everything except for the basic shell of the structure. And I did leave a couple of objects like the airplane in Dirk's room, the dartboard and the video game they had, like the console, because I feel like, you know, if there is an object that I want to keep, I will keep it. Oh, and I also kept the piles of bills. Darren has left piles of bills all over the place and he's gonna have to take care of those on his own. I'm not helping him out. You gotta be a responsible dad, Darren. Don't let your son down. So I should probably mention that I didn't give the family much, if any, extra money. I think I might have given them like 1,000 simoleons for just some outdoor decoration. So they were on a pretty tight budget. That's why at the end not everything is perfectly detailed, but I think that's okay because as we start playing the families, we can add and expand upon what we've made with these renovations. So yeah, I deleted everything until we had a blank, empty canvas to work on, like a work of art. Darren Dreamer would be proud. I added a balcony in the back, as you saw, just right above the back porch because the house was looking very flat from this angle and I wanted to give it a bit more depth and dimension. I didn't change the layout of the house very much at all. As you saw just a moment ago, I just extended it by 1 block on one side and left the interior basically the same. This isn't the optimal room distribution, I don't think, but I wanted to challenge myself and make the most out of the space as is. And then, yeah, I also spent about 4 million years adjusting the roof, and I'm still not 100% in love with the final result. But I did spend like 20 minutes just trying out different variations of roof shapes, and this is what I settled for in the end. You can see there's this little wraparound moment on the side that connects to the front. I think this also helps break apart the boxy shape of the build. I'm once again using the amazing doors and windows from the bespoke build set. I keep getting questions on like every video about this build set. I'll leave the link to this set in the description, but these are basically my most used windows and doors, at least for this neighborhood. After Pleasantview, we will visit other hoods, which all have a different aesthetic and architecture, so we'll probably switch up the style of these builds. If you want to know more about the custom content I'm using, I do have a video where I've linked some of my most used custom content. I'm actually planning on purging some stuff from my downloads folder really soon because I've got a ton of content that I don't use often enough and I want to get rid of it. So that'll probably happen within the next few weeks. Around the porch and on the front, I placed these like floor trims and roof trims. I think this is one of the things like I kind of ended up using a little bit of extra money because this is purely decorative. It doesn't really do any sort of function, but I think this really brought the build together. It's just so simple. The house is pretty simple. There's not much going on with it. It's just adding these little details that makes the build unique. On the inside, I use this staircase, which I really like the staircase. I'll try to find the link for you guys. It looks like it's on an angle, and it's giving this really nice dimension to the build, but Sims actually kind of just teleport on this staircase. I don't know what's with it. I mean, they can't really have the proper animation because they will just walk through the banisters or something like that, but it looks nice. It looks great. I think it works really nicely. And for the interior, of course, I went with a mostly blue theme because these guys, they just like blue. I wonder, like, why did Maxis pick blue as their color? Maybe because they have blue eyes. And they were like, okay, they have blue eyes, so they're gonna have blue everything. I don't know, but the exterior of the house is blue. The interior has a lot of blue. It's not all blue, but a lot of blue, of course. Dirk's room is also blue. It was blue to begin with, but I've kind of toned it down. You'll see once I start placing actually the furniture, there's a lot of IKEA stuff pack and IKEA matching custom content in this build. It's like a very IKEA-esque, is that even a thing? I don't know. It's a very IKEA forward build. It's sponsored by IKEA. I'm not sponsored by IKEA, but please sponsor me. There's just a lot of IKEA furniture, which is just simple and mostly cheap, and it works well. I feel like maybe if there was a Simulish IKEA, you know, it would be this kind of affordable furniture that would work for a family like the Dreamers that don't really have too many finances. I mean, if you couldn't tell by the 50 piles of bills that are hanging around, they can't really afford much. And Darren doesn't have a job, so he's either going to have to get it together and get a job just to get his son, you know, through school and then possibly university if he wants to go there. And then in his elderly years, he might try to pursue art again. Or he's gonna go all in on art and be amazing at it. You'll see a little bit later. He has a little bit of a party where he invites a bunch of guests to showcase his art. So yeah, I think for Darren, I might go with the artist path. For those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I am actually an artist myself. So I always have fun creating artist personalities in The Sims and decorating studios and just making painting a career because, you know, it's kind of like living vicariously through my Sims because I couldn't do that in my own life. Oh, let me just shed a little tear. So yeah, this is the kitchen. I think the kitchen is so cute. Not again, that's not the optimal layout that we're going with. I didn't really like what I did with the living space, to be honest. But I was just moving around the furniture. You're gonna see like this position of the TV that you're seeing right now, like the TV and the couch. I switched this up in a moment, so don't get used to it. I moved these around because I didn't feel like it's working for me. I kind of prefer to have at least somewhat of a symmetrical layout, and that window was just throwing me off so much. So yeah, I moved it around. I moved around all the objects. I placed 2 armchairs and then I was like, I don't really like it like that. Let's just place one at an angle. Oh, another question I also receive often is like, what kind of cheats and mods do you use for building? This is a question I get asked on pretty much every video. I always use the set quarter tile placement cheat. I'll write these down in the description if you guys want to check it out. I use the set quarter tile placement cheat, which basically lets you shift some objects, not all of them, but some objects can be shifted around like a quarter tile placement, not just block by block, like meter by meter, but like half of that space. I don't know if I'm making sense. But it's a very useful cheat. I use that all the time to place blocks at different angles, like line things up more symmetrically. If there's like, let's say, a 2-tile window and a 1-tile table, I'm gonna try to position the table in the middle between the 2 tiles, which you can position that along with the chairs and it can still function. You just have to be very careful about it. So I use that cheat. I also use the 45-degree angle placement cheat, which does what it sounds like it does. It lets you put objects at a 45-degree angle. And I also use, of course, move objects on, and every now and again for decorative objects, I will use the snap objects to grid false cheat, which just basically lets you place any object without any restrictions of the grid. You have to be really careful with that one because if it's a functional object like a chair next to a table or a desk, it's probably not going to work. So you always need to be snapping objects to the grid for them to align perfectly and function. But for decoration, it's pretty good. I always use this, for example, for landscaping because, plants don't grow in a perfectly uniform 1x1 block space. They are all over the place. Nature is unruly. I prefer using that cheat for landscaping mostly. Here we are in the studio. This is Darren's little space. I use this easel, which is, I believe, a 4:2 conversion, and a lot of little custom objects and paintings on the walls. I pulled out some plants because I felt like, okay, maybe he's painting some, not just portraits of people, but he's painting the landscapes that he's noticed around the neighborhood. He's painting some still life artwork. We also have this little couch where people can come around and hang out with him. He has a coffee table with a retro radio because, of course, if you are making art, you're gonna have to listen to music. You cannot just sit in a silent room. If you are an artist who just sits in a silent room, how? How? Asking for a friend. The friend is me. How do you do that? I don't know. He has all sorts of tidbits in this room. And I put this big shelving with canvases, some of them painted, some of them empty, and some empty canvases as well, because he's gonna need all of that. I think one of the objects is a Maxis object, just a normal object in the game, and one of the objects is a conversion. I'm not sure if it's from The Sims 4 or The Sims 3. Another thing I get asked about a lot, I use a lot of conversions from both The Sims 4 and The Sims 3. Some people don't like conversions, some people are like, ew, what the heck? When they see clay hair, for example, on a sim, they're like clay hair from The Sims 4, they're like, oh no, this looks terrible. I feel like if you, for something like hairs, or even objects really, if you download only things that look similar enough, that look cohesive enough, let's say if you're gonna do 4:2 hairs, you're gonna have to do mostly, if not only 4:2 hairs, because otherwise you'll have Sims, let's say with Sims 2 Maxis matchy hairs that look a certain way, and then you have the clay hairs from The Sims 4, which don't even have gravity for the most part, and they look, they look like clay, that's why they're called like that. And then you have let's say wispy alpha hair. So yeah, if you're gonna pick one thing, just go with that. You're seeing me put these lights. Oh, these lights are so nice. The ones that are hanging from the art studio through the opening down to the first floor. These lights are from Sims 4 Tiny Living, and they look great for these double height ceilings. We're now moving on to the outdoor decoration. I'm doing some just very subtle, minimal terrain paint. I didn't do pretty much anything much outside. The family didn't have, they had barely any money left over at this point, so I just did some minimal landscaping, just some texturing of the terrain. I put some bushes, a little bit of ivy. I felt like, this wall is looking a little bit flat. What am I supposed to do with it? I put some ivy, hanging around on the side. You're gonna notice in a moment. Some bushes. By the way, about the neighborhood decorations, I really like how, because I placed this little park area in the back behind the house. Oh, here's an object that I deleted. Because I placed this park area in the back that has hedge fencing, it just marks out this bigger sort of yard around the Dreamer home, for instance, and I don't have to put a fence around the house. It just looks like this is all part of the Dreamer house. This all of this green space around the hedging, and it just looks so, I don't know, it looks so much nicer than just having, a plain field of grass and a bunch of houses plopped into it. Hood deco really makes the Sims look so much better. Don't worry, I'm also planning a hood deco video. I'm planning so many videos. I don't have enough time for this. I really want to make so many videos for you guys. I have so many incredible ideas. We're placing a few final touches, and this is it. This is the finished Dreamer family home. Dirk had just come back from school, and of course he's spending his entire afternoon with his girlfriend Lilith. But he's not the only one in the house looking for love, because his dad has a very special guest today. Darren invited a bunch of neighbors to get together for an art showcase, and he's using all of his 0 cooking skill points to impress Cassandra Goth. And it seems to be working. If Darren wants to make it as a freelance artist, he needs to work on his networking skills, so he's trying to please his guests, who seem to be having fun even though not everyone is getting along. Just like Lilith isn't getting along with her parents, but she's come with her Aunt Jennifer, who is new to town and wants to get to know her niece's boyfriend and his dad. It's time for the portrait painting session to begin. Darren needed a model, and he was more than happy when Cassandra offered to pose for him. I wonder if she knows that she's his secret muse. Meanwhile, Dirk is showing Lilith some of his dad's finished paintings, and she finds them hilarious for some reason. Dirk loves his dad, but he's still mourning the loss of his mom every day. How will he feel when he finds out his dad is ready to move on? Darren has been working all afternoon and the painting is complete. Let's see what Cassandra thinks of it. She loves it. Maybe Darren has a chance with her after all. But this is all I have for you today. We've got only one more family home to renovate in Pleasantview, and then we'll start our Let's Play, so subscribe if you want to watch more Sims 2 content. And to each and every one of you who is a returning viewer, I see you, I appreciate you, it does not go unnoticed. Thank you all once again for being here, and I'll see you soon with another Sims 2 video. Bye!
Renaton. No, Rang.
That's McCown.